Welcome everyone to the pre-event for the 7th annual Bring the Conversation to Light virtual event benefiting the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation right here in the great city of Cowtown, Fort Worth, Texas. My name is Carlo Capua. I am so excited to be here with you today. This is a pre-event welcome, so thank you to all of you for joining early to get a little sneak peek to the event that we're going to have. We'll even give you a little behind-the-scenes preview. So, looking at our Zoom monitor, I see, wow, who do we have online? I see Ann Williams, hello Ann, and Candace Amori, Leanne Embry, Brad Nowlin, Tracy Rector, Edwin Harris, Debbie Sledge. We've got 77 of you online watching right now at this very moment on Zoom, and a good 24 on Facebook. So thanks to all of you for being a part of this wonderful program and incredible organization. So first, for all of you on Zoom, we'd love to see you to turn on your camera. Even though this is virtual, it's an opportunity for us to stay connected. And this is a very important moment, so feel free to come off of your stop video. We'd love to see your beautiful, smiling faces. Also, we invite you to use the chat feature to show your support. You can honor a loved one and encourage others. So to practice using the chat, we'd love to know where you're from. So if you're on Zoom, feel free you can change your name, add your name and maybe a title of where you're tuning in from, or just post it in the chat and I might give you a shout out. If you're on Facebook, I see a bunch of you on there. There's Lisa that just posted and Mark Ferguson. Tuning in from Facebook, feel free to post in the comments. This is engaging. We want to be talking to you, recognizing you, thanking all of you for taking your time today to benefit this wonderful organization. So folks, today we'll be talking about suicide and mental health, both of which are very difficult conversations to have, and they know no boundaries. I mean, think about it. They don't know state lines, religion, race, ethnicity, language, or political party. So knowing there are people from all around the country and around the world on the call today talking about this very important subject reminds us that we are not alone. But folks, the sad truth is there are some people who feel very alone, and this is exactly why we need to bring this conversation to light. Because, when you're not feeling well, when you're depressed, it can be very hard to tell someone else that you're feeling down or maybe even having dark thoughts. But telling someone is the first step to asking for help, and what we'll learn later from our keynote speaker, Terry Bentley Hill, she's phenomenal, that we need to #stop minding your own business. So stay tuned for a very empowering and powerful message that Ms. Hill will bring to us. So for all of you watching, here's a question. Think about this. If someone told you they were deeply depressed, or maybe they felt hopeless, or even maybe that they were considering suicide, what would you say? What would you do? In about an hour, we'll have a very special training to help you answer these questions. We call it QPR, Suicide Prevention Training. The Q stands for question, the P stands for persuade, and the R stands for refer. And these are 3 simple steps anyone can learn to help save a life from suicide. So folks, if you have time, stick around after the event for this special QPR training. That's question, persuade, refer, and that'll start at 1 p.m. sharp Central Time right after today's program. Also, we will have a special moment during today's program where we will ask all of you to literally shine a light on mental health. So folks, as we're waiting on Facebook or Zoom, we're waiting for the official start, grab a flashlight or maybe a candle, or tell you what, something that all of you have handy, maybe your phone, where you can simply go to your flashlight and you can use the flashlight on our phones, because we'll have a special moment where we literally shine a light on mental health and bring the conversation to light today, all together. We're going to start in about 10 minutes as I have my father moment and keep my flashlight on. We're going to start in about 10 minutes at about 11:55 or so. And as we're waiting to start, I'd like to give a big shout out to our Hope Squad. You can see I'm wearing my button. Our Hope Squad members joining us today from all around North Texas. And Hope Squad, essentially, they're considered the eyes and the ears of your schools. These are composed of brave students who are trained to watch for at-risk students, to provide them friendship, identify warning signs, and seek help from adults. So these Hope Squad members are empowered to seek help and save a life. And we want to thank all of our Hope Squad members and wonderful advisors in attendance. So folks, if you're on Zoom or if you're on Facebook, if you hear your school or your district, give us a shout out, either a thumbs up on our Zoom call or post in the chat or Facebook comments if you hear your school or school district, so we can salute your efforts. Anybody out there in the Arlington ISD, Birdville, Carroll, Fort Worth, we've got Grapevine, Colleyville, Keller, Mansfield, Weatherford, White Settlement. Oh, I see Christy. Okay, so Noreen and Christy both are shout out from Carroll. How about Westlake Academy? Anybody out there from Westlake Academy? We've also got Uplift Ascend. I see Bridget's joining us from Keller ISD, and Valerie from GCISD is in the house, she says. Anyone from St. Rita Catholic School out there? We really appreciate the support of all these independent school districts in St. Rita's. And a special shout out to Dr. Hudnell. Dr. Hudnell, thank you so much for all of your efforts and your volunteer spirit in joining us. We know that you've been a very essential champion and a great testament from the Hope Squad. And thank you very much for being here. So thanks to all of our Hope Squad folks. I see Howard Rosenthal from South Lake. Much love and caring to our dear friends, the Harrises. We see a lot of other folks. Frostbank, Lisa Gillick from Fort Worth. I see David and Sandy Dixon. Thank you from the Hope Squad. And we really are so excited to have everyone here. So today, as we shine a light on mental health, depression, and suicide, and ask all of you, our collective village, to help us. And there are two ways you can help. Number one, if you know someone right now struggling with mental health, invite them to watch. You can send them the Facebook Live link. Anyone can join. You don't have to have a Facebook account to tune in and watch. And we'll get started officially in just a few minutes. So you've got a few moments. If there's someone you know who might benefit from hearing a message of hope, please share this link with them to watch on Facebook. I'll ask our tech crew to insert the actual name of the page in the Zoom chat, if you would. In the Zoom chat, if you'll insert the name of the Facebook link. That way, anybody, you don't have to have a Zoom account. You can go right to this Facebook page, tune in, and catch this whole program. Because as is said here at the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation, while it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a community to save one. I love that quote. So if there's someone you know who has a friend or a family member who is struggling with depression or mental health or maybe thoughts of suicide, please invite them to this program. During the pandemic, we're all cooped up in our homes. We're seeing depression and suicides spike. Another way you can help is to give. So right now we're going to paste the link in the Zoom chat and the Facebook comment section. Gives you a direct link to donate online. You can click that link. It'll open up a new menu, so you can fill out your credit card information later. Even after the broadcast, you can fill it out. We'll take donations all day today until midnight. But the goal for this 1 hour, folks, is bold. It's to raise Christy's giving me the thumbs up, to raise $150,000. So 3 ways to give. Number 1, you can text. You can see on the screen here, you can text to give from your phone at 833-307-0773. You can donate online. We'll post a direct link in the chat right now, both in Zoom and Facebook. And we'll also post the mailing address right now in both chats if you'd like to send a check via snail mail. Well, folks, we'll take your money any way we can get it. It's for a great cause. We're not shy. I am shameless when it comes to asking for money for this great organization. So again, if you're, feel free to turn your video on at Zoom. We'd love to see you. Feel free to type the chat in the comments. I'm going to see how we're doing here. I see Crowley's in the house. We've got David and Sandy Dixon. Marie Salazar, hello from Communities and Schools in Hidalgo County. This is awesome. So I'm going to ask our friends in the back to help us put up a quick poll on Zoom. We're going, and our friends on Facebook to join us. So in just a moment in Zoom, you should see a poll that comes up that asks where you're from. Okay, we'll go with that poll. Your answers are Tarrant County, somewhere else in Texas, somewhere in the USA, or international. So we'll give you just a few moments to answer that. If you're in Facebook, put it in the chat. If you're on Zoom, put it in the chat. We'll close that poll in 3, 2, 1. All right, we're not going to show you the results yet. We're going to make you wait and build the drama here. And we'll reveal those results in just a second. So remember, folks, we've got people from all around. Depression and suicide, it's not confined to any one religion, race, ethnicity, political party, and we want to reach as many people as possible as we can. So, let's go ahead and show how many people are, let's go ahead and, Bill, let's run the results of that poll so we can see exactly who we have on the call. You can see we've got 74% are Tarrant County, 15% somewhere in Texas, 10% somewhere in the USA. We have almost every state had pre-registered. And then we've got one person international. So thank you to whoever you are dialing in from overseas. We really appreciate it. I saw we had people registered from Puerto Rico, Israel, India, and Hawaii, and Canada. Thank you. Oh, Canada. Thank you so much for being here. So in just a moment, just now, we're going to roll a pre-show video. So stick around. We'll be right back.
Everybody's reaching for the stars, no matter how far apart we are. When the world is up against you now, yeah, we're gonna make it through somehow. Everybody's reaching for the stars. We fly, ready to rise up in the everybody's following a dream. Feel it stirring deep inside of me. When the noise is just too much and you feel you're not enough, just look up, there's magic to believe. We fly, ready to rise up in the air. We climb
Welcome, everyone, officially to the 7th annual Bring the Conversation to Light virtual event brought to you by the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation. My name is Carlo Capio. I'm coming to you live from our studio here at Red Productions in the great city of Fort Worth, Texas. Today, we shine a light on mental health, depression, and suicide. And in the next 65 minutes, we hope to accomplish 3 things. Number 1, to better understand the challenges we face in our community on the topics of mental health, depression, and suicide. Number 2, to better equip ourselves and others to support those struggling with mental health. And number 3, of course, very important, to raise funds to support the outstanding work of the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation. And folks, right before we came on, I got word we got our first text to give donation. So thank you to the mystery donor there. We also got a generous gift from the Foles and Logan family. So Foles and Logan family, thank you so much for your gift. We really appreciate it. Folks, we understand there is a stigma that surrounds just the words and the topics of suicide and depression. And it can be really uncomfortable to bring up these topics with friends or family. But talking about it brings the conversation out in the open and could save a life. As the late Congressman John Lewis said, if not us, then who? And if not now, then when? The time is now, folks, to bring this conversation to light, because every day in this country, 132 people die by suicide. We've seen a 30% increase in suicide since 1999 nationally. And right here at home, in Tarrant County, since 1999, we've seen a 55% increase in suicide. The numbers, folks, they're going in the wrong way, and we need to take action now. Now, normally we'd be gathered in person in a large convention center, sitting at our tables with our table captains, enjoying a delicious box lunch as we've done the past 6 years. But we've had to pivot, like many of you out there, to ensure this conversation doesn't end. So if you're on Zoom, we'd love to see your face. Feel free to turn on your video, post in the chat your comments and thoughts. If you're on Facebook, feel free to post messages of hope in the comments there, and I may even give you a shout out. I see Ensemble Co-working, great co-working space, says hello to everybody. We also see Carla Beard, Sherry Harsel, Lisa Goodwin, MD Sojib Khan. Thank you so much for all of your kind comments. One of the positives of doing a virtual event is we can cast a really wide net. Some of the people that I mentioned probably have never attended to this in person or maybe somewhere far away. So if this is the first time you've attended this Bring the Conversation to Light event, we extend our sincerest welcome to all of you. In fact, we did a poll just a few minutes ago, and we saw people were tuning in from almost every state in the U.S. We even have some folks from India, China, Israel, Puerto Rico, and Hawaii. So we're so happy you're with us wherever you might be at this very moment. Not bad for the person in Hawaii, so thanks for being here from the beach. Speaking of our audience, we have a number of elected officials joining us today that we'd like to extend our sincere welcome and thank you for the support of Mayor Betsy Price of the city of Fort Worth, Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Shingleton, also with the city of Fort Worth, Mayor David Cook of Mansfield, Mayor Oscar Trevino from North Richland Hills, Mayor Laura Hill from Southlake, Mayor Laura Wheat from Westlake. I wonder if they get confused sometimes. Mayor Kelly Thompson from the town of Westover Hills, Councilmember Ann Zeta, District 9 representative for the city of Fort Worth. We also have 6 superintendents of school districts all across North Texas. This event wouldn't be possible without your support. I'm just now seeing we've got Noreen, thank you for your donation. We've got someone tuning in from the Netherlands. Thank you so much for being here. And the U.S. Virgin Islands. Wow, that's we really appreciate you tuning in. As you know, suicide, depression, mental health knows no boundaries. This is something that we can all join arms together, regardless of where you are in the world, to support this great organization. We also want to thank our sponsors. We have our presenting sponsor, Alacaina Foundation. Thank you so much for being the presenting sponsor for today. We also have trainer-level sponsors, Alliance Operating Services, the Connerly Family Fund of the North Texas Community Foundation, our friends there. Thank you to Empire Roofing, to Fiserv, to Office Equity Solutions, and Republic title. Thank you to all of our sponsors, and a big shout out to the 63 virtual table captains. We couldn't do this without you. You recruited people to fill your table. We've moved to a virtual event, and we just really appreciate your commitment here because, folks, it takes a village of sponsors, volunteers, and table captains to make this happen. Now, we are all here today because of a young lady named Jordan. Jordan was a remarkable woman and one of those people that you never thought would have thought about struggling with her mental health. She was valedictorian at Richland High School and Birdville ISD. Jordan was a student athlete, a National Merit Scholar. She got a scholarship to the University of Michigan, and it was in her senior year she began struggling with her mental health. She was diagnosed with severe depression, and only 4 months later took her life. So to honor Jordan and to all those who have lost a loved one to suicide, Jordan's parents, Tom and Ellen Harris, who you'll meet in just a few minutes, started the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation with the mission to eradicate suicide in 4 ways: funding depression research, creating awareness through education, erasing the stigma, and providing hope to those who are struggling in silence. So it is with that mission and in the spirit of the Harris's mission and 4-pronged mission that we are all here today. So in order to eradicate suicide, folks, we really need your help. Our goal today is, we'll be honest, it's a very bold goal. It's $150,000 in this hour. You'll hear from Executive Director Christina Judge in just a few moments about the programs we've done in the past year, and Ellen Harris will give you details on exactly where your donation goes and precisely how it will help. In fact, I'm hearing that since we began, we're already up to $29,000 from either the text to give or the online donation. So thank you so much. If you've just joined us, then we're going to put in the chat box and the Facebook Live comment section a clickable link to help us reach today's goal. So if you click on that link, folks, it'll open up a new window that you can use to donate, or you can just come back to that page after the broadcast. You can fill in your credit card information at your convenience, and you'll know that your donation goes to a great cause. Let's see how much we can raise in this 1 hour. So before we go to our mission moment, we want do another poll for the audience. Have you lost someone to suicide? You should see it pop up on your screen. You can answer yes or no. If you're in Facebook and you have lost someone to suicide, you can simply type yes in the comments section. Because every day, 134 people in the USA die by suicide. And struggles with mental health happen in our own cities, our neighborhoods, our backyards, our own schools. And by shining a light on the issue today, we can work together to bring hope to those who feel hopeless. Remember, it takes a village to raise a child, and it takes a community to save one. You are part of that community. We'll bring you the results in just a moment. But now I'd like to ask everyone to grab your phone, okay? Your phone right here. You can turn on your flashlights, and what we're going to do is whether you're watching on Zoom or Facebook, let's take a moment to honor the theme and literally bring the conversation to light. We've asked everyone to bring their own light, whether it's a candle or an electronic candle or simply your smartphone. We can shine this light together in solidarity for those who we've lost to suicide, to be a beacon of hope for all those who are struggling in the darkness. And so at this time, we'd invite anyone with a light to join us in letting our light shine. We're going to turn the event to gallery view, and you can see, there's 465 of you on Zoom right now, and almost 100 live on Facebook. You can see the power of our collective shared light.
My last daughter, my baby, she was 12 years old. She had already had a really rough go of it with her birth father, and he had been physically and emotionally abusive.
I led my 4 teenagers and myself away from domestic abuse. We left their friends, their support group, and came back to what was considered my hometown, but a strange place for them.
When I was 13, my mother tried to commit suicide. You know, that was quite traumatic for me and my brothers.
And it took a turn for the worse when my best friend, Gabe, died by suicide in September of 2015.
She secretly started cutting. In her mind, what she wanted was to just end it all.
And then it was not answering my phone calls and not answering my text messages. And I wondered, is he alive?
I never had the desire to get close with anyone. I separated and isolated myself from family and friends. I self-medicated for so many years.
June 3rd, 2016, I tried to take my life. The depression got so bad, I just didn't want to be here.
Why didn't you come and tell us? We would be here to support you and love you through whatever you need.
The worst part for me was the night panics of, oh, if I just said this, if I had just told him that, he'd still be here.
By then, I had taken all the pills, so I had enough to kill 4 people. I had 124 pills, and I took them all.
All broke down and started crying, and then we got on what's the next thing we need to do here? You need to get help. We need to get help as a family. Let's do this together.
I did need help. Compounding stress and adverse childhood experiences can lead anyone to a path where they feel depressed and anxious, where they feel suicidal and like there's no hope.
We all face certain crises that are devastating to us. And these skills that we are learning through the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation will equip all of us to handle these better.
One great way to get the stigma out of suicide. It's important for us to do everything we can do in this world, and this is the organization that I was brought to.
It brings a beacon of hope to other people. It brings the conversation to light. It gives us the ability to say, there's a community for this. There's a community of people that can help you.
And I feel like what's happening with the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation is they are giving us answers. They are equipping us. And not only that, they're also then investing in research.
I went to see the first QPR alone, and I found the valuable information priceless. I was so just mesmerized by Christy and her presentation that the second time I brought back my husband, who is a first responder. He listened, and I think that he was pretty amazed at what he didn't really even know.
You're not alone in this journey, and you never will be, because there are thousands and thousands of people out there who've felt those feelings. And there are people that can relate and can help you process the trauma, the stress, the experiences that you're going through.
Just that one life skill that they learned through Hope Squad. If Hope Squad was all Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation did, it would be, I'd be standing here every bit as fired up as I am with everything else that they do.
I don't think we have the excuse that, say, my parents had, because no one talked about it, you know. We know better. So by knowing better, then we have to do better. And for me, doing better is talking about it. And people say, well, it's courageous to do it. I don't see it that way at all. I mean, it's what we do. I think that's what we're supposed to do, to help each other.
Thank you all for taking the time from your day to be here with us. We're thrilled to have the chance to do this event virtually, and we're excited to return to our regular format next year if that's possible. I'm pleased to be talking about the impact the Foundation's programs have had in our wonderful community and beyond. As many of you know, when COVID emerged in March, we had to transition to virtual services, which we were fortunately able to do quickly. I'd like to recognize our volunteers, staff, and board for this successful transition. Our Hope Squad program has had significant impact in our community. Just 3 years ago, we had a little more than a dozen schools using this peer-to-peer suicide prevention program. We now have 89 schools in 9 districts with 81,535 students able to access a Hope Squad. There are currently 1,500 Hope Squad student members, ages 9 to 18, who've been elected by their classmates. These students receive special training to help peers who may be suicidal. In the last academic year, 484 students struggling with suicidal thoughts or a mental health crisis were referred for help at our Hope Squad schools. If you're an educator and you'd like to bring this program to your school, I've just given you 484 precious reasons why you should consider it. Hope Squad schools have also received more than $300,000 from the foundation over the past 4 years. Before I move on, I'd like to thank all the students, parents, school staff, administrators, and superintendents who are committed to the success of Hope Squads in their schools. QPR training also continues to be a source of impact, with our staff and volunteers on track to provide 4,500 people with this suicide prevention training. QPR stands for Question, Persuade, Refer, the 3 steps needed to help someone who is suicidal. These free trainings have engaged people from all over the country in their new virtual format. Our Train the Trainer program, called Unite for Light, impacts others via partnerships with community agencies and academic institutions. We have provided 16 partners with free QPR suicide prevention, training support, and materials. Over the past 5 years, we've provided financial impact via $392,000 in awards for depression research funding. This year, we supported JPS Behavioral Health for the continuation of its suicide prevention predictive analytics project, and the TCU UNT Health Science Center Medical School to support a program related to the mental health of its medical students. All of these accomplishments are made possible by you. Without your ongoing support, we would not be able to provide these life-saving programs. Every dollar means we can serve more children through a Hope Squad, offer a training to a first responder, or help fund groundbreaking research that will change the way we treat mental health. If you have time, please stay after the event. Our program director, Christy Wiley, will be doing a QPR suicide prevention training. Thank you again, and please enjoy the rest of the program.
At this very different and virtual luncheon event. Like many nonprofit organizations, we labored over our decision to have or not to have our annual luncheon. But in the end, we felt it important to, with your help, continue our advocacy, education, and awareness efforts related to suicide, and especially youth suicide. We have over 900 people registered for today's virtual event, an incredible turnout considering today's challenges. It often seems that we are inundated with nothing but news about problems our country faces, be it the virus, social unrest, or our divisive politics. I find myself often wondering if there isn't a news or a media business model that would focus more on the good things happening around us. The onslaught of this virus has certainly heightened our challenges in dealing with the overall mental well-being of adults and children globally. When you consider the environment in our schools, at home, and in the workplace, every age group and demographic has been pushed into some form of isolation. We are social animals. We need to be with other people. We need to collaborate in person with others at work. Our children need to learn social and interpersonal skills in our schools. We need to practice our faith with others. When these things are absent, it can easily result in stress, loneliness, and depression. But we're not here today to solve all of our nation's problems. but rather to bring the mental health conversation to light and eliminate any stigma related to our efforts to support the people most in need. You heard from Christina earlier about the work the foundation has been busy with, despite the barriers created by COVID-19. I'm incredibly proud of our staff, our board, and all those volunteers who support our efforts. And I want you to know that the foundation team is doing everything they can to mitigate the challenges we face today. Our family's path since we lost Jordan Elizabeth has not been an easy one. But over time, we have gathered strength from each other and from a very close group of friends. Ellen and I have always admired the way Jordan's brother and sister have rebounded from their loss, as both are now very independent, busy with their families and their careers, and active members of the Foundation's board. Their strength, courage, and resilience will carry them a long way as they continue their life's journey. Jordan and her little sister had a very special bond that most siblings would be envious of. I was always amazed at how close they were with each other. Seldom did I ever hear them argue. More often, I would find them giggling about some absurd story or thought they were sharing with each other. You all might remember the old Nike commercial, "Be like Mike," suggesting you could be a basketball player like Michael Jordan if you wore his shoes. In certain ways, Alicia wanted to be like Jordan. With that notion in mind, let me introduce Alicia Thornton Harris, who will give you her perspective on what it was like to lose her sister Jordan to suicide. Thank you. Alicia?
Thank you for that intro, Dad. As my dad mentioned, my name is Alicia Harris, and I am Jordan's younger sister. Our brother Matt gave a speech at last year's luncheon. He did such a fabulous job that I don't think I stopped hearing, "Wasn't Matt's speech incredible?" for at least 2 weeks after that. So I wanted to say thank you, Matt, for setting that incredibly high standard for me. This idea of standard setting does a pretty good job of summing up what it was like growing up as the youngest Harris sibling. It feels like I've spent my whole life living up to the standards set by my big brother and sister. Throughout grade school, I wasn't ever really called by my name, Alicia, but rather Jordan Harris's little sister, or, "Hey, you're related to Matt, right?" But in all seriousness, I could not have asked for better role models. Matt was the smart, talented captain of the football team, and Jordan, well, I wanted to be everything she was. Intelligent, funny, beautiful, successful, kind, popular, just to name a few. Jordan played basketball and volleyball in school, so I played basketball and volleyball. She was on the school spirit squad, and I was too. She got her nose pierced, I got my nose pierced. She wanted to travel the world, and I still do. Anywhere she was at a big family gathering, I would be right next to her, which I know she absolutely loved. She had this infectious lust for life and for people, and had a special way of making everyone she encountered feel like their best selves. Jordan had the brightest future ahead of her, and I knew, even at a young age, that she would go on to do amazing things in this world. One day shortly after Jordan returned to Ann Arbor for her final semester at the University of Michigan, my dad called me to tell me that she had been admitted to the hospital. She had been having these really dark thoughts, and her roommate, Stephanie, had convinced her to check herself in so she could get help. I was so confused, as I didn't have the slightest inkling that she was feeling sad or overwhelmed, much less depressed. The whole concept of being depressed was something that was so foreign to me at the time. There had been no warning signs. She did her absolute best at hiding these feelings from everyone. Only 2 months later, Jordan took her own life. She was 22 years old. I was 18. As long as I live, I will remember the day I found out Jordan died as if it was yesterday. I was in my second semester of my freshman year at UT Austin. After my morning classes, Matt, who was also at UT, came to my dorm to tell me what happened. I remember my dad's voice breaking over the phone as he attempted to calm me down. I remember the 45-minute flight from Austin to DFW feeling like 4 hours. I remember the house full of people that were there when I arrived home and the conversations with my loved ones, each of us trying to make sense of what had happened. My life has not been the same since. I lost my big sister, my best friend, and the most influential person in my life. I kept thinking, how could someone who was so full of life be so depressed that she truly believed the only solution was to end her own life? How did I not see how bad it was? If Jordan could succumb to this terrible depression, what would my own future look like? Not only did Jordan's suicide turn my world upside down, but it affected our entire community. When she died, the number of messages, phone calls, and social media posts that followed was almost overwhelming. They were a testament to the incredible impact Jordan had on people. Her death was a shock to so many. It became a wake-up call for our community to take mental illness more seriously. Something had to be done. And thankfully, something has been done. My parents, Tom and Ellen Harris, founded the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation back in 2014. Over these past 6 years, I've been lucky enough to witness the impact this foundation has had on the Dallas-Fort Worth community, and Tarrant County in particular. You heard from Christina earlier about the incredible strides we have made over the years, not to mention the number of people that have been touched by the important work the foundation is doing. As indicated by Christina's statistics, a primary goal of this foundation has been to normalize conversations among people, particularly young people, about mental health, to let them know it's okay to not be okay, and that it is so important to talk about it. I still miss Jordan every day, and I wish more than anything that I could pick up the phone and call her just to talk about our days. We were finally getting to a point in our lives where I wasn't the annoying little sister anymore. We were becoming peers, and even better, best friends. This is one of the hardest parts about losing her when I did. If there is such thing as a silver lining for me, Jordan's death has taught me so much about life and its challenges. It's taught me how to put things into perspective, how to not sweat the small stuff. It's taught me how to be resilient, how to push through the bad days, because I've already experienced some of the worst pains a person can feel. When I was laid off from my job back in March because of COVID, I knew I could break through my own feelings of sadness or depression and find the resources I needed to get past it. And throughout the years, all of us have thankfully turned the tragedy of losing Jordan into something bigger than ourselves through sharing her story and growing the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation's work in the community. I am so honored and proud to be a part of such an amazing organization. I would like to personally thank everyone who has played a part in supporting this foundation, no matter how big or small. I also wanted to thank many of the same people watching today who have been there for me and my family since the moment we lost Jordan. You are the people who continue to lift us up 8 years later. And to my parents, Tom and Ellen, the co-founders of the foundation, you inspire me. I'm honored to call you my role models and the role models for many in this community. You both have somehow found a way to turn your personal tragedy into such a powerful force of good, literally saving countless lives. We are living in a time of immense uncertainty. The combination of a global pandemic, racial injustices, political divisiveness, and an economic crisis has had an incredibly negative impact on everyone's state of mind. According to a major recent study conducted at Boston University, for example, cases of depression among adults in the US have tripled since the start of the COVID pandemic. All these factors just amplify more than ever the need for our foundation services. And finally, whether you are at home, at work, or at school, and you are feeling isolated in these extremely difficult times, please know that you are not alone in any of this. Thank you for taking the time to tune in today. We are grateful for any kind of support you can give the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation. It will make an impact far greater than you can ever know. Thank you, and stay safe.
Alicia, thank you so much for those brave words. We know that Jordan would be immensely proud of you. And I'm going to go to some of the Zoom comments that I've seen really pour in support of Alicia. We've got from Jake Yarborough says, "You're such an inspiration. Thank you for channeling your energies into solutions." We've got Lisa Doherty, "The Harris family is so loved by all of us." Adam Grossman says, "Lishy rocks." Harriet Harrell said, "Thank you to the Harris family for the strong commitment to make positive impact." And Tracy Rector, Aaron Buck, Lisa's iPad all said, "Thank you for the courage you have to stand up for us today." And folks, we know that Alicia is not alone, because at the beginning of the program, we put up a poll and asked if you'd lost someone to suicide. Well, we saw that 61% of you, and we can share the results if we can, Bill, 61% responded yes. And so we know that we're not alone. You know, to tackle mental health, depression, and suicide head on, we need your help, folks. We'll post a link. Actually, let's post a link right now in the chat. It will take you directly to the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation webpage. You know, our goal is $150,000, and right now our current fundraising goal is $52,500. We're 1/3 of the way there. If you're thinking about making a donation, folks, do it now, please, because your donation will inspire other people to donate. I also want to go to some of the comments we got from J.R. Labby at JPS Health Network. Wants to thank everyone at the foundation what they're doing. Thank you, J.R., for your kind comments. We also had George King Jr. posted a beautiful tribute to some of his family members that have struggled with mental health and depression. So thank you, George, for posting that. We also had Nate Guyton, I saw from the TCU Chancellor's Office, posted messages of support. So thank you, Nate, and thank you, Chancellor Boschini and TCU for all the support that you give this organization. We've also got Smithfield Elementary School. Thank you for being here. A big shout out to Susan E. Foster for being the honorary chair of today's event. And she volunteers and gives in memory of her son, Marshall. So thank you, Susan, for everything that you give. And one other group I'd like to point out is what we call our Unite for Light partners. Thank you to all of you with the United Way, Leah King and team. You run such a fantastic organization. Thank you for your support. We've got Pathfinders, Communities and Schools, MHMR of Tarrant County, and 22 Kill. Thank you to all of you for your support. It really, folks, it takes a village. So don't wait. Please donate. We need your funds to help tackle this problem that is pervasive, not just in our community, not just in our country, but around the world. And I've got a little bit of breaking news for you I'm hearing in the earpiece I'm not wearing. Ellen and Tom Harris, the co-founders of the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation, and Jordan's parents, they're issuing an exciting challenge for all you 63 table captains. So table captains, pay attention. And folks at tables, pay attention. Table captains, if all 10 of your guests at your virtual table make a donation, big or small, anywhere in between, Ellen and Tom will donate an additional $100. So 63 table captains times $100 is a lot of money, and no amount is too small or large. And recurring monthly gifts are eligible, really any kind of gift that we give. Let's do it now. Click on that link. Let's donate. Let's lead by example and make your gift and encourage your other guests to give. We'll watch our light shine brighter than we ever could have expected. Well, folks, it's now my honor to introduce today's keynote speaker. And I heard her in rehearsal yesterday. She is phenomenal. Her name is Terry Bentley Hill. She is a nationally recognized mental health advocate and criminal defense attorney in Dallas, Texas. Ms. Hill holds a bachelor's degree in journalism from the University of Texas at Austin and a Doctor of Jurisprudence degree from Texas A&M University School of Law. Hill's focus on mental health issues occurred after losing both her first husband and her 14-year-old daughter to suicide. It is her mission to help others suffering from mental health diseases by sharing her story of pain and healing. Folks, please help me give a great big virtual welcome to today's speaker, Terry Bentley Hill.
Carla, thank you so much. I'm humbled every time I hear that, mainly because I am here talking to you as a guest of Tom and Ellen Harris. And I'm humbled because this is one of the best events you will ever attend on this topic. And I suggest to you today that this is the most important information you're going to get today, or tomorrow, or this week, or forever. This is a topic that we do need to talk about. And I know, because as Carlos said, I'm the survivor. I am a survivor of suicide. Not once and not twice, but twice. And I'm also a survivor with a capital S. And what that means is I am one of those who has been left behind. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what we can do with more information, like QPR, that the foundation supplies to anybody who wants to know how to save a life. Now, normally, when a person speaks at the Harris Foundation, they are in a humongous, cavernous room with hundreds and hundreds of people sitting out there listening to the speaker, listening to Christina Judge, listening to Tom and Ellen, listening to Matt, to Alicia, everybody. But really, it is just a huge stage and the message that we can present. So today is different. And see, there's an island of opportunity in every difficulty. And so thank goodness for Zoom. Thank goodness for Facebook Live, because I can have lunch with you. I can stand here today, and I can be welcomed into your home, and I can have an intimate conversation with you about a very difficult topic. And so I get to have lunch now with people in Israel, in England, and all over this country. And so I'm going to share part of my story. I'm going to share things that people ask me all the time as a survivor of suicide. And I'm going to give a message of hope from what I have learned from my own experience. So if I were sitting across the table from a friend, which you are today, many friends have asked me in the past, Terry, you are the survivor of suicide. What is that like? And what have you learned as a result of that? And if you could leave one message for us today, what would that be? I'm going to give you some really good news. First of all, and I'm going to get to this a little bit more later. But the really good news today is that suicide is the number one most preventable death there is. Preventable death. So that's the good news. But I want to start off by saying, as a survivor, I saw on Facebook Live and on Zoom the number of people who are watching who have experienced suicide in their own life. So I'm talking to a bunch of survivors. And I want you to know, my heart's with you. I know how painful this is. I want to honor that pain. I want to honor you as a survivor. And I want to acknowledge you. And I want people to know how difficult it is to survive suicide. Because suicide is the most complicated death to grieve. Unlike a natural death from a different kind of illness that is more acceptable, or from a death from a car accident, or death from even murder. I'm a criminal defense attorney, right? So I see a lot of different things, and I deal with a lot of people who have experienced terrible things. But nothing is more complicated than living as a survivor of suicide, because it becomes very personal. It feels personal. It's complicated because I feel like, what should I have done? What could I have done? Why did this happen? Because see, our brain doesn't wrap around this idea of someone dying by suicide. So we have to come up with a reason why. We have to figure it out. And the person, usually we can project our anger on other death situations. For example, if someone dies in a car accident, we can be mad at the slick roads. Someone dies of cancer, we can be mad at cancer. But if someone dies of suicide, there are only two people we can be angry at, and that's either the person who has died or ourselves. And we're not going to be mean to the person who's gone. So we tend to beat ourselves up. Why didn't I answer that text message? Why didn't I answer the phone? If I had, maybe this never would have happened. There are so many whys that we ask, why? And what I have learned through this process is the only person who can answer that why is gone. So I've learned I had to give up the whys. I had to let go of the whys and just realize that many people who die by suicide are suffering from a medical condition or a mental health disorder, and I can't answer that why, just like I can't save or understand why someone might die from cancer. So I had to let go of that. It was not a judgment, and it's not a judgment on them, and it's not a judgment on me. And what I also learned through this process is we don't know what we don't know. And we do the best we can, but when we learn more, we do better. And what I mean by that is 25 years ago, I was married to an elected official in the state of Texas. And he struggled with a substance use disorder called alcoholism. And he also had undiagnosed depression. And there were things that he said to me that if I had spoken the language of depression, because there's a language of depression, but I didn't understand the language of depression at that time because I didn't know what I didn't know. And oftentimes when you suffer from a depression or a mental health condition, you don't know you have it until you don't have it. So oftentimes a person who is experiencing that doesn't even know that what is going on with them. They may medicate that condition with some other coping skill, whether that be drinking too much. And by the way, with COVID, alcohol sales are up 54%. So people are coping with their anxiety with alcohol and other negative coping skills. So what I had to learn was the language of depression. For example, what do I mean? Well, my husband telegraphed through our entire marriage that he was experiencing suicide ideation. For example, he was a district attorney, and I'll never forget this. He was trying a capital murder case, a police shooting. A young man shot a police officer on Christmas night, and that is a capital case in Texas, and my husband was going for the death penalty. But instead of the death penalty, the jury came back with life in prison. And my husband was so devastated by that. He felt like he had let the officer down. He felt like he had let the widow down. He felt like he had let the community down. He felt like he had let himself down. And so he says to me, I might as well kill myself because I have let everyone down. But because my brain didn't work that way, I just thought, well, that's pretty extreme. I didn't understand the consequences of those comments. And all through our marriage, he telegraphed those messages to me. And so I missed it because I didn't know what I didn't know. 9 years later, I lost my daughter to suicide, to depression. And I want to tell you a little bit about Hallie. She was 14 years old when she died. And she told me things like, Mom, nobody likes me. I have no friends. See, what happens when a person is experiencing depression is they have cognitive distortion. They have thinking errors. Their brain starts to lie to them. And Hallie was a darling girl. You heard the stories about Jordan. Hallie was the same way. She had everything going for her. And I knew it was not true that she didn't have friends. But that's what she was saying. She was using the words that should have been a red flag. She said, nobody sits with me at the cafeteria. So by golly, I was going to go up there and prove her wrong. And I volunteered in the cafeteria, and I watched her. And of course, she had 20 friends sitting around her at the table. So I knew she was wrong. She had tons of friends. But you know what I learned? What I thought about that was irrelevant. It's what she thought. And so I had to learn those words, the all or nothing words. Everyone would be better off without me. I wish I could just go away. I think that people would be happy if I weren't around anymore. Those are words that are red flags. And then also depression shows you people's state of mind. People isolate when they're depressed. I know, because I experienced that after my first husband died by suicide. I experienced depression. I isolated. I wouldn't answer the phone. I couldn't get out of bed except for to take my kids to school. So I know how difficult it is. And so when a person's brain starts to lie to them, then oftentimes it seems easier to die than to live. So what do we do about that? Well, I'm going to tell you that I started a foundation called Stop Minding Your Own Business, because I had a conversation with a gentleman who had attempted suicide. And he told me some things I will never forget. When he was 17 years old, he jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge. And when I said, what were you thinking? I am the mother of a child who died by suicide. Please tell me, what were you thinking? And this is what he said. Oftentimes when a person decides to die by suicide, they'll make a pact with themselves. If this happens today, I won't die today. Might die tomorrow, but I won't die today. The pact that he made with himself that day was, if one person asks me if I'm okay, I won't jump. And he told me how he asked his dad to take him to the city bus so he could catch the city bus to the Golden Gate Bridge. And when he hugged his dad goodbye for the last time, his dad never said, hey, Kevin, what's wrong? He gets on a city bus with people packed on either side of the aisle and sobbed all the way to the Golden Gate Bridge, and not one person asked him, are you okay? He gets to the bridge, he's getting ready to jump. A lady walks up to him, and he said, I'll never forget her as long as I live. She had this dark hair, and she had these big glasses on, and he said, she's gonna ask me if I'm okay. But she didn't. She said, here's a camera, will you take my picture? And he went, okay. So he took her picture, handed her back the camera, and he jumped. And this is what I want you to hear. I don't know if you are a teacher. I don't know if you're a student. I don't know if you're a parent. I don't know if you're contemplating suicide yourself. I don't know. It doesn't matter who you are, but this is what I want you to hear. If the minute he jumped, he regretted it. Please, God, don't let me die. And he thought the saddest thing before he hit that water was that his family would not know that he wanted to live. He wanted to take it back. When he told me that story, and he's one of 43 people to ever survive jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge and live to tell his story. When he got through telling me, I thought, oh my God, we've got to stop minding our own business. We've got to start asking the questions. Are you okay? Because we can all do that. And we have to stop minding our own business. In this country, we're taught, don't mind your own business. Don't tell me how to raise my kids. Don't tell me how to take care of my lawn. In this instance, when it comes to a person who's struggling, stop minding your own business. Ask the question, are you okay? Because when you do that, think about suicide like a balloon. Suicidal crisis is like air filling up a balloon. And when you ask the question, are you okay? It releases some of that air out of that balloon and alleviates the crisis. So I want you to know that it's okay to ask the question, are you okay? Do you have a plan? And if they do have a plan, what is your plan? Ask the question. Now, this foundation is very important, and I know they're trying to raise $150,000 today. I'm going to challenge you. We're going to raise $250,000 today. Because when Hallie died, one of the things my therapist said, Terry, is Hallie just died too soon. One of these days, we're going to know how to treat this, and we're going to be able to take care of people who are suffering with suicide ideation and with depression, and that's what this foundation does. It supports research. It opens the door to speaking about this. And by the way, tell your story. There are a bunch of you survivors out there. Tell your story, because your story may be the key that unlocks someone else's prison. And I want to end with this. I always end with a little bit of hope. The day after my former husband died, a woman walked in my home and she said, Terry, you need to write a gratitude list. And I'm now the single mother of 4 little children. I said, are you kidding me? I have nothing to be grateful for. She said, well, let's think about that. She said, do you have a roof over your head? Do you have food on your table? Do you have 4 little girls who love you? Do you have a bed that you sleep in? And do you have legs that can take you from that bed to your bathroom sink? And do you have a toothbrush that you can use every single day? And I said, yeah, I do. She said, well, then it seems to me you have a whole lot to be grateful for. So every day that I pick this toothbrush up, I'm reminded I have a lot to be grateful for. And today, I'm grateful for my husband, Tom. I'm grateful for my sister who's watching. I'm grateful for my kids, Katie, Elizabeth, and Bentley. I'm grateful for Tom and Ellen Harris, and I'm grateful for this foundation. And I encourage you to give today to save a life. Not one more child, not one more death. We can stop that right now. I want to thank you. Thank you for listening to me. It means the world to me that I get the chance to share what it's been like for me, but what we can do. It's the #1 most preventable death. I want to thank you so much.
Terry, thank you so much. What a powerful testimony. So much to unpack there. You know, she talked about letting go of the whys. This is the #1 most preventable cause of death in the world. And something she said that really resonated, understanding the language of depression. And that's precisely what we do with this QPR training, is we have people understand the red flags and to hear things that may be problematic or leading to mental health, depression, or suicide. Folks, she mentioned alcohol sales are up. Well, guess what else is up during the pandemic? It's firearm sales. And those two can be a very deadly mix when someone is struggling with mental health. You know, I took part in the QPR training, and it was remarkable. You know, I learned that 2/3 of all veteran suicides involve a firearm. So what can we do to get to that $150,000 goal? Right now, we're at $82,300. If everybody on the call, we have about 1,000 people on the call. I see 485 on Zoom, but there are multiple watch parties. So if you're part of a watch party, if you'll put in the comments, who are you with? How many people are at the watch party with you? We've got about 80 on Facebook Live. If we all can donate $150, 1,000 people, that's $150,000. We will reach our goal. Stick around for QPR training. This is exactly why we need programs like this. I mean, imagine if we were able to surpass our goal and create more QPR trainings to help people understand the red flags of depression and suicide. Imagine if someone understood a red flag and heard something problematic from someone you loved and told someone and saved their life. That's worth far more than $150, folks, but please, we need your support to continue great programs like this. We want to remember, stop minding your own business. If you hear something, say something. It's very important. So we just want to remind you that this underscores the importance of bringing this conversation into the open. So please continue to use the chat and say the name. feel free to put, if you have lost someone from suicide, if you have lost someone from mental health or depression, put their name in the chat box right now via Zoom or Facebook. And let's just take a moment of silence as the folks online put the name of a loved one that died by suicide in the chat box. And I'd like to look, because there's power, there's collective power in putting that name out there and honoring that person's memory, honoring that person's legacy, just like the Harris family did in her honor, in Jordan's honor. So I'm going to go to the chat box right here, and I see Deborah post, I see David Sale, Johnny Cox, Aaron, my nephew, Lawrence. They're coming in faster than I can read, folks. Pillow, Ricky, Tate Nelson, Andy, Lindsay, Steve Eppertson, Larry McNamee, Robert Thompson, my grandmother, Geneva Hester, Walter, Jim Foote, Robert Falvo, Braden, Mary Dempsey, Richard. Folks, this affects not more than, so we saw earlier in the poll that 61% of you on the call know someone who's died by suicide. And remember, the national average is 90%. 90% of people in this country know someone who's died by suicide. And folks, the statistics also show that people who die by suicide have told someone their plans before. So that's why it's so important to support programs like this foundation, like QPR training, to, as our speaker said, understanding the language of depression. So the real reason we're here today is Jordan Elizabeth Harris. You know, this is a young woman gone far too soon. But you know, I had a conversation with the Harris family yesterday, and they told me we don't want to make this all about Jordan. And I said, you know, everybody out there has their own Jordan. 90% of you know someone who died by suicide. So the goal today is to honor the memory of Jordan and also honor the memory of all of you. The names are still coming in the chat box. Blake, Jim Boren, my Aunt Susan, cousins John and Ricky, Brenda Thurston, Faith, Lyle. This is real, folks. We need your support. We're more than halfway there to get to that $150,000. The program will end in just a few minutes, so please make that donation. It's so important. It is my honor now to introduce the co-founder of the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation, Ellen Harris.
Jordan Elizabeth Harris is my daughter, and I say her name every chance I get. I miss her every single day and the relationship that we had, but I'm not here today to talk about Jordan. Over the last 8 months, your life has certainly been impacted by the coronavirus one way or the other. The forced isolation and lifestyle changes we're all experiencing have created huge increases in the number of individuals dealing with anxiety and depression. As troubling, if not more so, is the significant increase in suicide attempts. According to the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, a nearly record number of children during the pandemic have been admitted to Cook Children's Medical Center after a suicide attempt. The Star-Telegram quotes Dr. Kia Carter, the medical director of psychiatry at Cook Children's, as saying that the hospital has recorded an extremely high number of adolescent suicide attempts over the past couple of months. The COVID-related stressors come as youth suicide was already at a record high before the pandemic, with increases every year since 2007. According to the most recent data available from the CDC, suicide is the second leading cause of death among people ages 10 to 24, as it has been for many years. The services of the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation are needed in our community now more than ever. You've learned about what we do throughout this program. We've brought Hope Squads to 89 schools across 9 different school districts. We partner with 16 local nonprofits, assisting them in offering suicide prevention trainings to their employees and clientele. And to date, we have funded $392,000 to suicide prevention and depression research. What hasn't been mentioned is that year to date, we have trained 4,012 gatekeepers in QPR, and since 2016, we have trained a total of 15,222 community members in suicide prevention. We can't do this work without your help. All the work the foundation does gets done with a small staff of 4 who are always mindful of how important it is to be good stewards of your many generous donations. Let me give you just a quick snapshot of what the foundation can do at 2 very different donation levels. A $50 donation can provide the resource cards, brochures, and materials for a single community outreach event. A $5,000 donation can support a New Hope Squad for their first 3 years. That same $5,000 donation can help us achieve our goal to be one of the leading funders of suicide prevention and depression research done here in North Texas. And here's an added incentive for those of you who are attending because you've been invited by one of our table captains. My husband Tom and I will donate an additional $100 for each table where all the guests make a donation, no matter the size. As we come to the end of this event, please be assured that any donation in any amount will help the foundation pursue our vision of a world where suicide is never the choice. To make a donation, you can text the word GIVE to 833-307-0773. Go to our website, www.jordanharrisfoundation.org/donate, or send in your check to the address on your screen. On behalf of the board and the staff of the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation, I thank you.
Hey GHS, I'm Macy.
I'm Morgan.
Hey GHS, I'm Kira.
I'm Mrs. Partridge.
Hey GHS, I'm Addie.
I'm Will.
I'm Dr. Nottingham.
I'm Ava.
I'm Allie.
Hey GHS, I'm Mythania.
I'm Marissa.
I'm Miss Newland.
Hey GHS, I'm Kayla.
I'm Travis.
I'm Emma, and we are Hope Squad.
We want you to all know that we miss you.
We miss our teachers
and our friends
and walking the halls of our second home.
We know that some of you may be struggling right now,
and we want you to know that we feel you.
We hear you.
We see you.
And we are here for you.
And we are here for you.
And we are here for you.
We know it's hard to get motivated some days.
Or that you are worried about prom and graduation.
We know it's hard to miss out on sports, concerts, and competitions.
Teachers, we know that you're balancing working from home
and managing your own kids at the same time.
We know that social isolation can be challenging.
But try and stay positive.
This won't last forever.
Reach out to someone if you need to talk.
A teacher,
a friend,
a family member,
a counselor,
or a Hope Squad member.
Take care of yourself and know that there is hope.
There is hope.
There is hope.
Love GHS Hope Squad.
Love the GHS Hope Squad.
Love GHS Hope Squad.
Ellen, thank you so much. The strength that you and your husband Tom have shown have been absolutely inspiring. You know, turning a tragedy into a movement. This is Jordan's legacy, and this also is to honor any of you out there who have lost a loved one by suicide. Special thank you to Mary Newland and the Grapevine High School Hope Squad for creating that awesome video when COVID first hit. And I also want to thank our lunch committee co-chairs, Lisa Daughtry and Whitney Early. Thank you so much for your generous time. And folks, we just heard during the break, we received an anonymous gift of $50,000. So we are at $137,000. Please, if you're going to give, please give now. We can't do this great work without support of everyone in our village, everyone in our community. So please, please, please click on that donate button. Let's get to 150 and let's keep going to 250 like our keynote speaker said. So as we close this event, we invite you to stay on. Remember, we're going to do some QPR training on Zoom to learn what to do if someone tells you they're struggling with mental health, depression, or says that they are contemplating suicide. So we're going to post a donation link one more time in the chat box in the comments section on Facebook. Click now, you can make your donation. We want to thank all of our sponsors, elected officials, Terry Bentley Hill, the Harris family, the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation staff, the volunteers, table captains, Tom and Ellen, whose vision and mission keeps Jordan's spirit alive in all of us, her legacy today, and to all of you that may have lost someone. And folks, we're going to do something fun here at the end. We don't want to forget all the people behind the scenes that make us in the front look good. So we're going to try to do this pan shot here so you can see all the people behind the scenes that makes it happen. All the folks at Red Productions, there you can see them, including Scott and Amanda, Trey Sprinkle, Bill Alexi at the meeting squad. You can see him back in the control room right in front there. Folks, thank you so much for joining our 7th annual Bring the Conversation to Light program. Stick around. We'll start our QPR training in about 4 minutes, and a big thank you to everybody out there for giving your time for this amazing organization.